All right, take two. Apparently I had some console issues. I forgot to update the code, so it wasn't working. So this is take two of me trying to do this. Ignore that. That's because this is the old version. Okay, so let me restart everything here. Make sure restarting VS Code. All right, so we're good. So this is the video demo for Team 28, I believe. Let me just double check that. Yes, Team 28. I'm Max. I'm making the tutorial video here, and I think so. Let's just go over the basic project structure right here. It's a pretty standard Node project structure. We use a couple libraries and modules. The main one we use is called SocketIO, which basically handles the live WebSocket communication between the client and the server. So this allows us to have like multiple instances of this application open and like chat between them, because this is the chat application. It's called comms. I don't know if I said that already, but that's our project name. It's meant to say like communications. It's just kind of a take on that. But the idea is just for it to be kind of basically similar to Discord, where you have different channels and you can just send messages, and it just logs basic info about the time it's sent, the user had sent, and then it stores all that chat history in our Mongo database, which I can pull up here. So these are just four default channels I have created. It is stored under this app data database and then in the collection channel data. So these are all objects. Each channel has a property called channel name, channel ID, channel admin, and chat history. And chat history contains message objects, and each of those objects contain a sender, a time, and a message, and that's actually defined in this JSON schema here we have. So all the type that the variables have to be, and the structure is all defined here, basically. So it allows us to only put the certain type of documents into this collection, so we keep everything nice and organized. But we have four default channels created here. Everything is cleared out because there was some just development chats and everything in there. I also posted the link to this on the system story, so I had anybody who was connected to Tiger Wi-Fi could come and join the application and type anything. So we had just some random messages from that I deleted. So everything should be cleared now, and I think I might just go over a couple more of this code. So we have our client code here, index, client.js, and then the style, that's all under this public folder. And then under our server, we have app.js, which is our main handler here. And then we just have these external, these are also on the server side, but they just contain the classes just to keep everything organized. So we have a class for our user that joins, a class for the channel, and a class for the message. And you can see these are all pretty similarly structured as to how they are in the database. And I kind of defined here like what is actually stored in the database and what's not. So like for our channel, for example, these four are the ones that are coming from the database, but the active users and the active user count, that's not important to store in the database. And that's actually for our live database, which sounds kind of weird, but we have to have this kind of mock database in place while the project is running to store everything. So SocketIO, which is the library, it knows where to route and like just keep everything structured. And so we can kind of query of like, okay, where does this message need to go? And so this is all just basically this live app data is just for when the project's running, and it contains active channels and active users. And the way that's stored is just key value pairs with the channel name as the key, and then a channel class. So this class is stored as the value. And then we have active users, and then their unique socket ID, which is something within SocketIO which you use for routing or sending messages. That's our key, and then just the user class is the value for that. So this is basically for, you'll see this whenever we have a lot of our SocketIO code of just routing of like where this message needs to go, and it keeps it nice and organized. So I think I'll just start the project, and then I'll explain the different functionalities and explain what's happening in the code while that happens. So if we go to our browser here, actually I didn't start running it, and the command to run this is nodemon and just app, because nodemon is the, wait, is there an error? Wait. Oh, okay, never mind, we're good. So nodemon is just like a version of Node. It just makes it for when you're developing it, just live refreshes, so you don't have to constantly end and restart the project. And then, so nodemon app, what did I click something weird? Oh, did I? Crap. Okay, I accidentally typed something there. Let's try that again. Let's just Control-C, clear it so everything we have a fresh start. Nodemon app, this should get starting up and running, server running, and connected to MongoDB. So the project should be up and running, so let's go to localhost 3000. And as you see, everything pops up here. So what happens when this page loads? We see we have the four channels here, which are the same name as the ones we have in the database. So I'll explain to you how that gets there. So let's see, it starts, so this IO.connection, okay, it starts all here. IO.connection is when someone joins the web page, this runs for everybody. So it generates them a unique user ID, and this is just unique every time. It's an anonymous chat room. And we just have this code to add ourselves to the live database and everything. And then the loading of the channels from the database starts here. So we have this load and build channels function. So we follow that. That takes us down here. So we have this function, and then we have a function called get stored channels, which is back up here, which basically just retrieves all of the channels that are in the database under the collection channel data. So this just returns all the channels that we have under here in an array. So we follow that. Load and build channels for each document of all channels. I think it's just debugging to make sure the loop's running. And then we create a new channel object, which is this right here, which is what we use for our live database. So we keep everything structured. So we unpack the data from the database and put that into our own into our own code, into our own object to handle in the project. And then we also add it to the live database. And then the socket.emit. So this is the first instance of where we have sending a message from the server to the client. So we send this message called render channel button, and we do that for each channel that's in the array of channels from the database. So we go back to client.js, and we look for here. So we have the socket.on, which is just a listener for that for this event right here. So emit is like it's casting it out, and then we're listening for it right here with socket.on. And then so basically we just send it to this build channel button function, which just uses jQuery to build it and display it on the web page. And I forgot to talk about this earlier, but hold up. We didn't use React for this project because we didn't know it was necessary at start. So we kind of built out like half the project, and then we realized, oh crap, this is supposed to be in React. But it is, so we ended up just building out the rest of it as we were doing. But it is structured very similarly to React, of how there's like components and stuff, and everything is very organized into listeners and emitters, so it's pretty self-explanatory when you look through the code. I know it's not exactly React, but hopefully we can get some partial credit for that because everything is organized pretty well. We have these functions which build the components for the UI, and it's very similar. It just doesn't use React in itself. But back to this. So the build channel button, this happens for every channel that's in the database, which we start off with, and it just displays it using jQuery and adds it to the div container, which holds all of these. And okay, that's happened because we made changes in the file and it refreshed. So let me just open up a new instance here. Yeah, sometimes you get weird bugs with NodeMon with like the live refresh and stuff. So let me just restart it here. So it should be working fine now. They should display. Okay, sweet. And then you can join each channel. There's a nice highlight animation, and this is just handled by jQuery. I think up here. Is it channel join button? Yeah. So this code right here just handles the highlighting of everything. And that also, whenever you click to join a channel, so when you're switching between these buttons here, it may not look like anything's happening on the back end, but you are switching. Your specifically in this, your current channel is being changed by these join and leave channel functions, which are being called, I believe. So let's find where that happens. It should be like user join channel request, or no, it should be channel join button. It's this one right here. So handling joining channels. So everything's labeled. So on the click of that channel join button, we get the text of the channel, which just returns the channel name. And then we send an event to the server to handle this. So it's called, the event name is called user join channel request, and we pass in the channel to join as a parameter. So we follow this back to app.js, and what was the event called? User join channel request. So we can find that here, user join channel request. And then this basically just handles adding the user to the room in the live database and joining it in like the SocketIO library. So make sure we have the proper routing and everything. And everything is kind of like self-explanatory when you read through it. Like everything is labeled pretty well. So we get the user join channel request. We get a reference to the channel we query through our live app data. So this is the reference to the channel class. And basically, if we're not in a channel, then we'll leave a channel. So we have to be in a channel to be able to leave a channel. Makes sense. And then we'll do self.join channel, which is this function here, which adds it up here or changes this parameter right here in our user class. And self is just like the client yourself. So self is like you basically. It's the self is the new user we create. So it's like yourself basically. So we handle all the routing for joining the channels, and then we send an event back to the client called user join channel response, and then we pass in the channel name and the chat history. So we can find that. Let's close this. We'll find that right here, user join channel response. And basically this will just update the UI so that I believe it updates the header of the web page. So when you see how that changes, that's coming from the server. And so there's no chat history right now, but it will update the chat history if you join a certain room. So it'll display what each one is, but we haven't done that yet. So let's actually do that now. Let's add some messages to the chat room. So hello, this is in Jamal's channel, testing. And then we can join another channel. Hi, dev, and you can do this with anyone. And then when you switch back, you see the chat history loads for each, and all of that's handled. And then we can actually view these back in our MongoDB. If we go to Compass here, hit refresh, we can see that now the chat history has 2 messages in it because that's what we sent. So on Compass, you can view basically anything that's going on in here. So again, and the good thing about this is you can actually, so you can go to a different tab and you can also view the same thing. So we're in a different tab right now, and it actually logs in here when a new user connects. So yeah, like the history is shared between tabs and between instances of the project. So I could close all of this out and like restart the server. So let's just restart it. And then just go back to the project, and all the chat history should still be there from previous with the timestamp and the username. And so let's just quickly go over what's going on in the code whenever we send a message. So it all starts on the client side, I believe, handling sending chat messages. So right here. So we basically select the form, and then we just emit this event called process new chat with the value of the input, which is like the text box. So we just pass that in as the parameter. And then, so let's follow that to the server. So process new chat, let's look for the listener. Process new chat right here. So we have the listener for it right here. So basically we just got to make sure the user is actually in a room when they're trying to send a message. And if not, it logs this message, but this just checks to make sure they're actually in a room because it has to know where to send it. So first we create the new message object, which is this class right here. We create a new instance of that called new message. And then we just pass in the parameters with the message, the username, and then we just put in the time right here. And then we actually have this message called add message to database, and this is what backs it up into Mongo. So we'll follow that up here, add message to DB, which takes in the message object and the channel name. And then we just add it to, the code just add it to the database here. And there's not really much to explain. We just get the properties from this, because it's all stored the same. Like the classes in our code and the classes in the database, I try to make, they're pretty much the same. So it makes sending and updating between the two very easy. We just pass in the parameters and push that to the database. So where were we? It was process chat. And then right here, so send messages to all the clients in the same channel. So we have, this is IO, which is like the SocketIO, like a environment variable here that we're running in. So io.to self.currentChannel.channel name, which grabs, so if we go to our user class here, because self is a user class, current channel, that's right here, and current channel stores a channel class. So we get the reference to that, and then we do .channel name, which is right here. So we get the name of the channel, which is, the channel name is how it's stored in the live data. So that's the key for each database, or for each channel in the live app data. Yeah, so here, right here. So yeah, channels are stored with the key as the channel name, and then the class is the value. So we have to grab that. Where were we? here, and then we emit the event to just people who were in that channel. So this is what this code right here, io.2, and then update client chat with the new message object. So we can follow that back to the client, and this only sends it to clients that are in the room that we're specified here. So this won't update for everybody. And then so update client chat. So right here, here's the listener. We grab the chat container, we build a message element with this function down here, very similar to how React works, except we're just using jQuery to build the component. And we get that, and we just add it to the chat container, which is just this big area right here. So that's what's happening whenever you send a message. And then, I guess, yeah, I already said you can view the chat history in the MongoDB compass here. And so what else do we have here? We just send some more messages in here. And then so yeah, everything is shared between here. And also, I guess this isn't really important, but I did have some code where you can log the live data that's going on. So I think it just uses this library called like Winston or something, which is in NodeJS. And the code for that, I believe, okay, I'm just gonna be honest, this code is AI generated because I didn't know how to use this library. But this isn't important to the project, this is just for debugging in the console. So it's all this stuff right here, and it's basically just like a command line interface. So we can do this command log, I think it's log global. Okay, and that's, here, let's pull this up. And that just displays everything that's going on. So this displays actually the app data, the live app data variable that we keep talking about. So we have active channels, we have the 4 active channels here, and there's only 1 active user because that's the only web page we have open. But if we had multiple tabs or multiple people, it would log all of the user classes here. And then, so let's actually create a new channel. So this is the other feature of this project. So we go to create channel, and then let's just make this Luther Burden's channel. Hit OK, so we confirm that, and you see the web page updates here. Now we have a new channel that we can type in. And that'll also update on Compass. If we go here and hit refresh, we should see a new entry right here for Luther Burden's channel with the message we just sent. And then we can follow that in the code. So let's find where that happens. So handle, okay, right here, handle create channel new button. So right here, we have this jQuery listener, which listens for that. And then, so we just prompt the user for the name. And then if we send out this event, socket emit, create new channel request, and then we can follow that to app.js on our server side. What's that called? Let's collapse that to make sure it's all organized. Create new channel request. So here's the listener for that. So what happens on the server side? So we just create a new channel object, which is this right here. And then we just pass in the parameters. We generate a unique ID with this function on here, pretty standard. And then we add it to the live app data, however you say it. And we just add that with the key as the channel name, and then the channel class is the value. And then we add the channel to the database right here. So create new channel in DB. So let's follow that up here, create new channel in DB. And then so we just create this new channel doc, which is just like this is the exact structure as they should be stored with the channel name, channel ID, history, and all that stuff. So we take the properties from the channel object we created and just transfer that into the database. And then we find the collection and just push that to the database. It's pretty standard. MongoDBs actually make a lot of sense once you get used to it. It's just basically JSON and working with objects. So as we see that updated on our MongoDB compass, and create channel request. So then we emit back to the client. So this will emit to everybody because we want everybody to see the new channel. So render channel button, we can follow that back to the client. So we have the listener here, socket.on, render channel button. We have this function called build join button, which right here, which just builds this button right here. Again, we didn't use React, but this is very similar to how React works. So that just returns the HTML element, and then appends it to the container there, and now we have a new room here, so we can create a couple more. Another one, yeah, and you can see it updates. We can also go into Mongo in here, and then we can also delete anything in Mongo here, Compass, which is nice because this makes it super easy just to clear out any chat history or anything. But I think there's the full functionality of our project. I guess we'll explain more in the doc of like the development process. But basically, the way it worked was that it was kind of hard to like collab. So like we did all collab, but how we kind of structured it was we had like different roles. So people working on front end database, and I was more of like the project architect, and I like compiled it all together because I was really familiar with the SocketIO library, and the other people weren't. So I'm like, okay, you guys, basically what we had is like so we'll have people build out the front end, and we had some people build out the Mongo, and I would help here and there. But then I would take that code, and then I would read the code and then understand like, okay, I know what they're trying to do, and then I would build it into this. So like a lot of this code isn't exactly what they sent or originally did, but it's me taking the idea from what they had and integrating it in with SocketIO and like this project structure because I don't think any of them had any idea of how to work with like these SocketIO listeners and everything. So it's like, okay, you guys will just do what you know how to do, which is like the front end and then Mongo, and then we'll call brainstorm, and then like, okay, we'll make sure we know how to integrate everything. So it's like I was the main one like compiling everything together and like writing the code, but they were still like writing some code and like doing like all the brainstorming and stuff. So it was pretty balanced. I think everything turned out pretty well, and they helped quite a bit. So I think that's pretty much the entire functionality of this project. I don't think there's any other features we need to go over. Again, yeah, you can open this up in another tab and send messages. Yeah, so all the normal ones pop up here. And you can see how that updates here. I mean, and then this is all interesting because you can go to a different device as long as you're on the same network. If you go to the URL and you put in the host computer's IP address and then port 3000, you can access the same web page. So I can actually go to it on my phone if I wanted to. Actually, I don't even know what my IP address is here. Hold on, because this is actually super cool. Because it's cool. It's one thing to like communicate between the tabs on your computer, but when you can do it on another device, it's a lot cooler. So what's our IP? 100, 110, 142. So let me put that on my phone here, and I'll see if I can show you guys how you can access this on another device as well, which is pretty cool. So let me pull up Edge and then type in this web. So it's 100. It's already popped up. 799 port 3000. I don't know if you'll be able to see it, but it did pop up here. So actually, okay, let me pull up this page so we can see the live update. So let's join Brady Cook's channel, so you guys can see that, and then I don't know if you can see it on here, but I have the webpage pulled up on my phone, and let me send a message inside this channel, and you can watch the live update here. So I'll send a message. Oh, crap. I'll send a message just that says from my phone. And we should see that live update on the computer, so yeah, you can communicate between devices with this. It's pretty cool how that works with like NodeJS and stuff, but I think that's pretty much the entire functionality, and all we have to explain. I think I explain all the classes, the libraries we used, and the development process. I think that's it. All right, I'll get this turned in, and then we'll turn everything else in. So thanks for watching.